Yo, it's happy hour, which you know because we just played creepy music about giving kisses on the worm-like tips of tentacles expanding in your mind. Fresh Prime. How you doing, man?
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That's what I say to you, Brian. Fuck yeah.
Here's what I say to you is
Lean, baby.
This is the last time I ever get distracted looking at wrinkly litters of Weimaraner puppies in the middle of a Weird Things podcast because did I get punished.
Listen to the after show. Listen to the after show, folks. You couldn't.
I couldn't resist.
No, just the output was just so funny. Like literally, Andrew makes a whole point about a serious topic of applying yourself in these trying times and understanding that indeed chaos is a ladder, and
then Brian reveals,
and then Brian jumps right in. Like that's the thing is that you didn't even like lay out. You jumped in to make the point that chaos is a ladder. And I don't know whether or not it's a joke initially.
No, it was definitely like you were right to call me out.
Not listening at all. Yeah.
And it was such a brief window. It was like 20 seconds of me being totally dialed out, looking at like, look at those Weimaraner puppies. They're all wrinkly. One of those is going to become ours. And then I dial back in and I'm like, oh, he's talking about this thing. I should drop that line. And then it was like very clearly, whoopsie doodle.
That was literally the line in which he was talking about.
Yes.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of Brian roasting.
100% on me. 100% well earned. 100% deserved. Oh man. How was your weekend? Did you have some good times?
Yeah. I actually cleared out a bunch of shit, because we're getting rid of some furniture here in the studio as we kind of like rejigger things to make this more of a walking set. We're going to push some of this back and probably change up some of the background here.
Do you have one of those desks that you can raise and lower and all that stuff?
So we don't. And I'm going to try and see if I can get away with not having it, because this still is going to be my primary place where I edit and record Raise the Dead and PX3. So it still does need to be on some level a functional thing. And yes, a standing desk would do well for that, but we needed an exceptionally large one. And I think more what I just need is like a couple stands where I can like put the things that I just want better access to a little higher when I need access to them.
We inherited a couple of those for free. One now lives at Brant's place, and the other lives at the warehouse. But they're great. They're great. I mean, all it does is
standing desks or the stands.
Yeah, no. The standing desks adjustment thing, because you hit a button.
And then God, yeah.
The screws twist and it goes up, and then you're just standing, and it's nice.
Oh no, we have a standing desk in our living room that Ashley is working on.
Got it.
So no, they are great. I just don't know if right now, looking at like, okay, we're probably gonna need another camera, and we're probably gonna need more shit for the set, and we're probably gonna need more furniture. Like, I don't know if the standing desk right now is the number one priority, although certainly it would make life a lot easier.
Yeah. So I got better about playing catch up on all of the video content that I'm supposed to be doing. Number one, for the first time ever, we were able to make some bonus content for the Mono Road patrons who have been constantly asking for a podcast with me and Jason, but it's like, hey jerks, you already have it. It's called, we do these article episodes that are 20 minutes long, and we talk about rogue news or whatever. But in this case, what we have not done in a long time is any version of Rage Select, because we used to do a video game podcast together. We finally had an excuse. We sort of decompressed. It was almost like a PTSD extravaganza as we sat down and just talked through all of the beats that made The Last of Us Part 2 so wonderful. So that should be going up today on for the patrons, and then in a few days we'll release it on Scam Stuff. But I think we're also about to release a brand new version of scamstuff.com, and we're about to redo the modernrogue.com and all of that stuff. So there's a fair bit of behind the scenes stuff, but
yeah,
man, it's tough to be working so hard on so many projects that you can't show anyone until they're done.
Brother, I can neither confirm nor deny that I am feeling a lot of the same feelings, because I can neither confirm nor deny that I am working on stuff now that may or may not be a sequel to a podcast series that I did last year or this year. Was it this year? No, it was last year. And
just barely last year. Like what was it? November of last year? It was just at the very end.
It was at the very end, yeah. But yeah, it was it's something where like I just know that I don't want to micro cash in the like, oh, this is cool, or like, oh, this is good, because then I'll take my foot off the gas. And it's like, I want to make, in general, I just want to make stuff that is a lot more polished than any shit that I've ever done before. And especially for podcast stuff.
By the way, is saying something, because you started the bar pretty high, and it was me that was the a-hole that was like, what if it was even more polished? And now you've hit that. So if you intend to go higher than there, then we're really looking at something.
Yeah. And I think this stuff, in general, I think that this has been a good philosophy, and I'm working on stuff, but a lot of it is also even the studio and the live stream and just kind of like elevating beyond like, oh, we're doing a lot of stuff. Now let's do the best stuff. Now let's do stuff where if people watch it, they're like, how the fuck does that happen? Like, which I think on some level we have, with the ability to have a studio and have lighting and have, all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, you just want to keep taking it to the next level and doing cool stuff.
So tomorrow there'll be
especially now that the cool stuff can't be fucking flying around the country and covering shit, which used to be my power pitch for cool shit.
like I'm like everybody else, only I'm willing to get on an airplane. There's no airplanes. Fuck.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, we had a good conversation after the last happy hour, and I think I might have found those clips. I'll have to send them to you to see whether or not they remind you or they track. But like, Brian was mentioning listening to a podcast about how
did you find it?
I think I might have.
Okay.
Yeah. But they were talking about why some of the people that had like left big media empires like the New York Times and the New Yorker magazine, I think, why they are like big losses. And specifically because, it's not like they were worried. It's funny because it seems kind of proto crowdfunding thinking. Like I could definitely model our behavior and our thought process on some of this before we kind of went into the wild blue yonder. But they were concerned like, well, number one, the only reason why we are doing this podcast and making our money on Patreon is because we came from large platforms. And also, like, eventually people are just going to stop giving money to their favorite people on crowdfunding. And it's like, number one, I take a umbrage with that. And your second point, I could almost demonstrably say, like, before all of the refugees of mainstream media started colonizing Patreon, guess who was here steadily watching their fucking earnings continue, you know?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I realized recently I signed up for the Sam Harris podcast, and I was really pleased that I was given the choice between a monthly donation or a just a whole year all at once.
Just buy it. Yeah.
I'm surprised that Patreon hasn't offered that yearly subscription option.
Oh
yet.
boy. Yeah. You know, they're that and one times.
Yeah.
Like if I could just use Patreon as like my one-time donation, just because it puts people in the mood, you know, like Patreon has that brand of trust this place with your credit card. And I know it obviously has its own issues and people don't like it or whatever, but that's their brand. That's their worth to me.
Right.
Is that they are a place where people trust their credit cards and therefore other people trust their credit cards. And like, boy, would I love for them to do one-time donations. I would love for them to do yearly stuff. Like I would like to have, you know, the option for people to buy my shit by the month if they want. It's only the fact that I have to choose via their platform what you know, what things cost. People should have the option to buy it by month if they want, or to buy it by week. You know, I just want to give people the option to buy it by week.
Yeah. So tomorrow we're gonna take happy hour off because it's Night Attack regular day, right?
So I think that'll be a permanent thing. We did that last week. I think
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be doubly helpful because I'll be spending all day tomorrow doing the Wizard Academy class, and
so you would have had to piece out anyway. But
and we might on the following day on Wednesday. It might be you flying solo until I'm able to Skype in. So
okay, cool.
Just FYI.
We'll talk about it on Tuesday, depending, like once you get a handle on what your responsibilities are. But we can figure that out for sure.
I got back my COVID test, came back negative, and it's so funny.
Failure.
Because,
what a failure.
Well, it's funny because like all caps, block text, negative, and I'm like, oh, did I not? Oh wait, no, that's the thing I was hoping for. Never mind.
Yes. Yes. How long was the wait?
Shockingly short. We hustled to get it out on Thursday so that it would be here by Tuesday, and I think it arrived Friday or maybe even Saturday.
Oh yeah, and that was the one where you had to like get on a Skype call and make sure that you were.
Yeah.
It was a home kit, but you needed a.
I needed to be
on Zoom.
supervised. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. That's not bad. I know that there's we're testing so many more fucking people now. I think we're up to like 750,000, 800,000 a day.
I mean, I'll tell you what, Jason arrives in 4 days, and then basically, I think we're gonna shoot the rest of the year of Modern Rogue episodes, and if we're lucky, it'll be in 3 weeks. But he has announced like I'm gonna stay here as long as it takes. And we're going to get enough episodes that we could do cranking it up to 3 episodes a week for the rest of the year. And then we'll punch out. And I'm so stoked to know that there even exists something like this within 2 days of wrapping everything up, have him know that he's safe to go back home to his missus.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, testing obviously is a lot more ubiquitous than it was at the very beginning of all this. I think no one's gonna feel super pumped about tests until we have some kind of like, home
instant,
like a home pregnancy test for COVID, where we
somewhere we pee on a stick or whatever,
and we find out if we're COVID. So like, I think. At that point, maybe there'll be a little bit more peace of mind, because it is nerve wracking, man. Like, did you have the phantom COVID symptoms as you were waiting for your test?
No, I had them. I had that when I had that regular ass cold that took like 3 or 4 weeks to go away, and then when I
Yeah.
when I licked a bar at the height of COVID, expansion, and that kind of went away when it was an antibody thing. And so in this case, I was like, I ain't feeling nothing. And then
Yeah,
especially
you go to the same two places every day, so it would rely on
Yeah.
one of the other, like it would be Bryce or John getting it and bringing it to you, right?
that ended up being a bit of a bummer scene because Bonnie really, really wanted to get Callie, our youngest, 7 years old, involved in a quote unquote pod of other families where it's like, hey, we'll all keep track and do good jobs, but then we'll
Yeah.
let our kids all make out with each
Play.
other
Yeah.
constantly. I hit her back with, you can either tell me that I'm a bad person for eating a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A, or you could be the person suggesting that we marry 8 other families with vectors that none of us can track and trust in the middle of the biggest explosion of COVID in
Texas.
Texas being like the hottest spot. And it's like, so if you want to say I'm sorry, then
Florida,
we can
Florida
do
would
this.
like a word.
Yeah,
Florida
right.
would like a word.
Well, it turns out me saying we could do this if you say the words I'm sorry was like antimatter to the discussion, and it immediately ended. and now it's fine.
So wait, are you gonna do the pod thing or not?
I mean, apparently not. I mean, she was upset.
That's a really weird hill to die on, Brian. Are you aware that that's a weird hill to die on?
Well, no, I meant it playfully, but what I meant was, can we take a moment to evaluate like how dangerous it is
Sure.
to buy a chicken sandwich versus what you're casually proposing now? And and what I suspect is she was like, oh yeah, no, we're definitely marrying 8 other families and we don't know anything about how they're running anything.
Because another way to look at that would be her bringing that up to you is her tacitly saying you were right. It is her tacitly saying that the chicken sandwich isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, could be. She had the opportunity to say so. Like, I mean, it's
Sure.
like, I mean, it's, you know,
I
it's
mean,
like,
yeah. Sometimes, well, these conversations are often, they're not just what they are on the surface, right? Like you are, like when now you're mixing in personal responsibility and your children's health. And,
what I suppose I was saying in that sassy response was a version of, hey, just to remind you, these are the things that you've told me are deal killers. 1,
yeah,
physically walking into a Plucker's restaurant. 2,
yeah.
physically buying a sandwich from Chick-fil-A. Like, these were deal killers up until the words you just spoke. Let's consider what you're proposing. Creating a makeout pod with 8 other families with vectors that we can't control. If you want to explain to me the difference or why this is a good idea, then let's go for it. And the answer that came back was, yeah, I guess we're not doing that. So I can't speak to what she's thinking or how much of that is me just being an asshole or what, but but I know that my impulse was essentially I don't see how the two beliefs can be held, in front of each other without. I need you to reconcile the two things that I'm being told.
Yes. Now, separated from whatever hypocrisy might be there, like, where are you at on if we now say, all right, everybody is reorganizing and rethinking what COVID is, like, are you against the pod idea?
I'm not either for or against the pod idea. I just want to know that I'm on the same team, and it felt I don't know. I mean, are we
So
Sweden,
for
or-
your mind, like you didn't even you haven't even visited whether or not you are for or against this.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
You were immediately hit with like, wait, what the fuck? So am I not an asshole?
Right.
Like, or is the world gone asshole? Like, or
Right.
furthermore, let's say we do this, am I still not allowed to do these like very innocuous things?
that was sort of the beginning salvo, and I think what that put Bonnie in the position of is like, okay, well, if I do this, can I possibly stop Brian from going to Torchy's? Can I possibly stop him from, going to the sports bar? Can I possibly stop him from getting pluckers, or can I possibly stop him from eating chicken sandwiches? And I think she realized, no, there's no rational arguments to be made against any of those if she does this. And so she withdrew.
That's odd. That's
odd of her or of me?
I mean, just the entire, like, I mean, that you guys are, I mean, again, it's, and I don't blame you. Like, I think you guys are just having conversations that aren't about the conversations that you're having, right? You're having conversations about control and hypocrisy and that kind of stuff. And like, not even, about like, oh, okay, well, what about the pod idea? Like, the pod idea is like, no, until we reconcile these issues of control and understanding of the thing we face, then we're not even at the point, you're not even willing to entertain whether or not it's possible or plausible or smart or good or bad.
I mean, I guess the reductionist version of everything is, I've been on board for everything. I've been a very, very good boy. And even after Texas opened, I've not gone anywhere. As we've talked about, I've only existed in 2 places or whatever.
Yeah.
And me flirting with the idea of a 3rd or 4th place existing in our world has been met with a lot of harsh rebuke. And then to leap from that to, I want to throw.
So just, I mean, because I think that there was even some on this show where we were kind of doing a running bit, that we've had on this show,
fantasizing what it would be like to go to a bar.
About the next time we go to a bar and get to eat chicken wings and be socially isolationist and not talk to anybody but the bartender and blah blah blah. Right. Which is among our favorite things to do. Again, cruelly taken from us by this horrid virus. And I remember Bonnie's reaction being like, I can't believe you do that to our family, or something like that. Something along those lines of like, not even like playing along with the like, no, we're not saying he's going to go now.
Right.
We're saying
we're fantasizing what it'll be like.
Yeah.
Right.
But for
exactly.
her, I can understand the visceral idea of like, for a plate of chicken wings, like that's the line in the sand to fucking expose our family. That's all it costs, Judas. Not 3 silver, but 10 wings, hot. And an IPA, maybe 2 IPAs, maybe 3. Depends on how the Hearthstone streak's going. Like I can see where it's Pavlovian. It's just like oh, fucking talking about a bar. Nope. I am now like fucking in position to destroy. So yeah, man, that's some crazy trash.
Well, and so, but I mean, it's we've not yet explored the rest of the story. All I know is she said, I want to do this thing. I said, reconcile what you're saying with what you've told me for the last 4 months. And now we're not doing it. That's all I know. So I look forward to finding out more about her thought process and how she came to that conclusion and how serious and how afraid and all of that stuff, but I mean, that's not a today issue. And it's certainly not a, boy, man, that's one of the best parts about becoming an adult is that you're able to put a pin in long-term issues. Like the biggest lie I was ever told was I hope she's not listening, Mom. Was that your father and I never go to bed angry. We always work it out before we go to bed. Everything I've read since then has indicated that you don't need to shout it out before you go to bed. It's perfectly fine to say, sounds like we have some work to do. Let's put a pin in this and resolve it tomorrow. Young couples, that's a fine thing to do.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and also, again, it's like there's the fight about there's what you say the fight is about, and then there's often what it is really about.
Right.
Like, and those issues are stuff that build up for a while, and they are always persistent. So the idea that you're like, I'll never go to bed angry. It's like, sure, that's a great recipe to always go to bed resentful. Like, you know, if you're like, no, let's superficially say that I raised my voice when you spilled the lemonade. Like, instead of like, hey, I have a fucking problem with you bringing drinks in the living room. And this is something that we now have to resolve. And it's like, that's probably going to delve into some larger stuff and get into other power issues and power dynamics and histories that people don't remember the same way. And you're going to have to fucking put all that together. And that shit, that like absolutely just isn't something that comes together in fucking 3 hours. And again, it's not about the lemonade. It's about a bunch of other shit.
Here's what I suspect. And it's probably unfair for me to be thinking and talking this out in public, but whatever. Callie is an unending font of enthusiasm and energy and creative joy. She's constantly building machines out of cardboard and all of this stuff. And I think as proud as we are of watching her do all of that, I think Bonnie thinks about her childhood where she was truly socially isolated, living alone on, 4 acres of land out in the middle of the country. And she had to make her own fun, out in the woods or whatever. And I think what she wants is to spare Callie some of that sense of isolation. And and so meanwhile, for me, it's like it's all I want to do is remind Bonnie that that experience is part of what made her the delightful, wonderful person that I fell in love with, and created this family with, and all that stuff. But I all of which is to say, I don't blame her one whit for wanting to do the thing. I do feel like it's fair for me to ask for a explanation to make balance between the two edicts. Like, how is it okay to link us with 8 other families, but not have it be okay for me to eat a chicken sandwich? And then Bonnie has elected to withdraw the proposal.
Which, I mean, again, and I think that is, and I don't think that it is any less connected to everything, but that's a separate thing. Like, that's a communication issue between the two of you that likely that in actuality has very little to do with COVID or exposure or vectors. Like, that is a thing where you felt disrespected by portraying your behavior to be reckless, and that God forbid you would ever do anything to fucking be reckless toward her and your children, right? And from her perspective, it was, hey, I got to make sure that I set this electric fence up because, one day Brian just might get a little bit too close to the edge and he's going to fucking go across this boundary that I'm not cool with. And so it's like, that's communication. Like, you're looking at her as like, wait a minute. Like, so let's say if I take all these following precautions, then no. And she's like, I know if I give you the inch, you're going to take the mile. And next thing you know, I've lost control of a situation that I could have had control of if I was more more draconian about it. But again, part of that is also just like, oh yeah, we're living in a fucking plague. like an unprecedented plague where fucking like none of this is written. There's no fucking rules for it. There's no rules for how we treat each other about it. There's like there's an evolving science of how we understand it. But beyond that, like, look, it's fucking shit. It sucks ass. And our inhumanity toward each other, both inside and outside of loving relationships, is fucking at an all-time high.
Yeah, that's very, very well put. So anyway, it's an evolving figuring out of things. I absolutely understand the impulse, and I absolutely understand. And the thing that really screws everything up is that kids really do seem to be, give or take, come at me, Elon Musk, immune. You know, it's like I don't know what it means in terms of transmission or whatever, but kids, when they do get sick, in general, don't tend to, keel over the way anyone over 80 does.
Well, look, I will say this. If fucking kids were getting sick and going to the hospital and dying, we would have fucking been on, like, lockdown like the fucking Sentinels in Days of Future Past. Like, we would have fucking, Gestapo mobs wandering the fucking neighborhoods and making sure that everybody was inside, and that was that. Like, there's a world in which fucking coronavirus hits kids the way that it hits old people, and I'll tell you what, there'd be a lot less fucking around, because like a bunch of old people dying, look, it's a fucking tragedy, and if your grandma, your abuela is the fucking one that goes, then this is a fucking horrifying thing. But at the same time, X that by 100 per fucking death if it's somebody under the age of fucking 18.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, also, maybe I know nothing about this pod that she was looking at, and it's like, friggin' they're gonna have to do a full-on talent show before I approve everybody in the pod.
Yeah, I mean, man, that is. There is, I mean, the first thing that we had, again, Alameda County, slowest fucking county in the country to open up. We never opened up indoor dining. We never opened up malls. We never opened up anything that had any kind of indoor component. And so at least we didn't have to fucking do a grand opening, grand closing situation like some of the country has. But at the same time, the first thing that we got was like an official designation that now the county was allowing us to officially have our social bubble. And the social bubble was like, it was shit that we were kind of already doing, where it's like, all right, I hang out with Darren.
Right.
We'll hang out with our
right. And by default,
with our
we're
neighbor
doing
downstairs
here at HQ. It's like, John's here every day, Corey's here every day,
Yeah.
I'm here every day. So we sort of already have a bubble, and the idea of just introducing ourselves to another bubble at the height of being the hottest spot in the country made me a little nervous.
Florida will take issue.
Okay,
They are way as number one. 8,892 new cases in Florida, which, by the way,
In a day?
Good news, because it's the first time it's been under 10,000 in about a week, so or a week and a half. So hopefully Florida is calming down and has turned a corner. Texas, it looked like started doing that last week. Based on hospitalizations and everything. So
that is one of the things that's messed up, is the 2-week delay to, like, whatever move you make, you don't get to find out whether it was the right one for 2 full weeks.
Yeah.
Shifting over to politics.
Sure.
There was a hot minute that it looked like President Trump was just going to gamble that this thing was on its way out, and by
I think
flaunting,
he did. He did not appear to. He gambled. He fucking, that came up snake eyes.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
so how bad is the fallout at this point, knowing that we're 3 months away from the election?
100 days, under 100 days now away from election day. Yeah, you know, the way I saw it with the RNC and the DNC was that Donald Trump was betting that by August, uh, America we'd be past the peak, we'd have things under control, and America would be rewarding of a leader who was bold and who wanted to actively bring normalcy back to society.
Who, whether through his own actions or not, was at least projecting the type of positive confidence that we expect
Bold
from
leadership. Yes. And that would mean that the opponents, the Democrats, would be fraidy cats. They would be timid. And this is exactly why you don't put a Democrat in, because they're afraid of their own shadow. They never want to make a decision. And everything is just on the whim of Twitter or whatever. And so that this is going to be in stark relief to that. Well, it's going to be fucking August on Saturday, and we are not there. We're not there in a national psyche, regardless of whether or not you want to call it a continuation of the first wave or the second wave. We had a resurgence in deaths, which I only use as a vector because it's consistent between where our testing was in early April and the fact that our testing has exploded. So raw case numbers are tricky to look at. Percentage of infected is probably the better vector there.
Are a little bit tricky because somebody could be in a car crash and then you could find out like, oh, Andy also had COVID. So what do you label it as?
Well, but even then it's like, yes, there's always going to be rat shit in the meatpacking plant. Yeah. But we had rat shit in the meatpacking plant in March. We have rat shit in the meatpacking plant in July, right? So at the very least, the one thing that you could always say, even as case numbers were going up, is if you wanted to be a diehard about no, we're getting better, is like, but look, the deaths are continue to go down, and then they didn't, and so it's like, all right, if that was the last fucking place where you could hide, well, guess what? You just got smoked out, and now we have the new and improved Trump, who is doing these COVID press conferences by himself, and he's not yelling at the press, and he's talking about how masks are patriotic and we're canceling the Republican National Convention. I don't think that we're going to get any more Trump rallies between now and then. So yeah, I think that kind of explains what it is. The Democrats won that bet in terms of looking prudent versus fraidy cats.
Let's get to the only question that matters. How many steaks are we gonna buy, Cargill?
I mean, look, I think Trump taking it seriously now, 100 days out.
You think he's got time to right the ship?
If it depends on where the country is in November. Like if we have good economic whiffs, if the fucking virus is under control, and he is able to further define Biden, which he hasn't really been able to because he's been the star of the show and not in a good way, then I still think it's going to be a close election. I still think that there are just very deep ideological divides in this country, and all you really have to do is look around the world and say, yeah, fucking a lot of people died a lot of places.
What are you going to do
That's what
about
happens when a fucking plague rolls in.
Like, right? Does that mean you want to triple our spending? Yes, no. And
then be like, well, look, either I'm going to stay home or I'm going to vote because I'm afraid that, Joe Biden is going to do X, Y, and Z. And that's, I think there's going to be two big referendums that kind of come up in November on a meta level. Number one, did Trump just fucking run everybody's patience out? Like, are people that even are like, fucking cool, I like the Republicans, I would never vote for a Democrat, are even those voters like, fuck this guy and his fucking Twitter, like, enough of this shit. Like, I literally just don't want to think about politics and have it ruin my life anymore. Or has the Democratic Party moved so far to the left, even if Biden is not the greatest representation of that, that the Democratic Party as a brand has become something that independent or persuadable voters think like,
Feels
geez, I don't know, this like
awfully extremist or whatever.
Yeah. Have they gone too far there? And we're gonna find out in November.
So can you help me understand the current protests in Portland and in Austin recently? How can I put this? My understanding is that the difference between a riot and a protest is that protesters have demands and that you can satisfy those demands, and then the protesters will say thank you, high five, and go home.
Yeah.
I don't know still what the specific demands are of the protesters that are happening right now. And it makes me suspect that all of it is really just a proxy war against Trump. Like they're really all just mad at the current administration, and that's fine. I can wrap my mind around that, but it just seems like there are so many vectors that I don't understand.
Yeah, I think initially after George Floyd, it was about police reform, and it was about cops being held accountable. I mean, like it's a song that we have heard.
Wait, so in that
for
case,
a long time,
we could say qualified immunity. Qualified immunity has to go.
Qualified immunity, part of it, yeah.
Right.
An end of chokeholds. I mean, again, there's a lot of stuff there. Now, when you say a proxy war against Trump, I would say you're half right, because I think a lot of the people that are out there now are very disaffected progressives, some bleeding into the anarchist camp that don't believe anyone's listening to them. Like they had their guy in Bernie. Bernie got fucking subsumed in a fucking centrist Voltron. So fuck any part of being part of the process,
right? Which at that point, my protest riot meter, that's starting to sound a little more rioty than protesty.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's, I mean, however people judge it, this is just my sense of it.
Sure.
You know, it's a powder keg, quite honestly. And like, you know, even in Oakland, we had a solidarity rally or a solidarity protest with Portland, started at 7:30 at night on a Saturday. Always a fucking smart decision. And it ended with our courthouse getting bombed. Like, so when that happens,
also
you start to wonder,
that needle between riot and protest.
I will say, look, when George Floyd, that first Friday, Oakland fucking, it was a lot of a lot of property destruction. They fucking were breaking into the fucking auto dealerships. They it was crazy, right? Easily the most damage I've seen in Oakland since I lived here. Although like the Occupy stuff was before I got here. So I don't know if it was comparable to that. When like, you know, we hadn't really had violence here since then. And then fucking out of nowhere, our city courthouse, not a federal courthouse, like they're fighting over in Portland, a city courthouse gets fucking bombed. Like that's a hard time for me even to be like, well, that courthouse had it coming. But then again, this is why I think it's a powder keg, because I think the people that are out there right now, be they anarchists or black bloc or whatever else you want to call them, and I certainly think that they are anchoring some of this, there's still enough other people out there that are just disaffected and don't believe that the system has anything for them. And so you're right. It is different for them to protest, because the demands that they have, which are like defund the police and end systemic racism and all cops are bastards, like those can't be solved. or at least they don't feel that there's any pathway for them to be solved.
I mean,
so
yeah,
they're
there's
gonna
certainly
take it out
no
on the
piece of
system.
paper that can be presented that somebody signs and then they become true, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very, very difficult situation to find peace in. And that's on top of the fact that we are just living in an age of existential dread and ennui and fucking resentment. And again, like coming back to the point with even like you and Bonnie, like our inhumanity to each other, like is fucking like we're at a hair trigger. We're a race car in the red right now. Like,
And it does. That's not a bad example because like we figured out very quickly we were not really arguing about the water dispenser. We were arguing about something else, and it takes a while to figure that out. And I feel like that's what we're seeing now. Is I mean, not we're hearing a lot of different reasons that people are doing stuff, and but I suspect it's something bigger, like like I said, a proxy war. Maybe it's trying to dare Trump into overplaying his hand. And
I don't think that nobody there is thinking strategically, in my opinion.
Sure.
They are there to wreck the system that they don't feel that they're a part of. Like they have no equity in these conversations. They don't give a fuck about these structures. They don't give a fuck about the system at all. In fact, they think it's corrosive. It's fucking lethal. And so fuck it. Make the city rebuild the courthouse. Fuck it. Make the fucking DHS come out here and fucking let's have them show their ass. Let's have them show every inch of the inhumanity that this system produces. And then let's have the chips fall where they may. I think that that's far more about it than whether or not they think Trump is good or bad or indifferent.
So maybe if and this is probably an overly unfair reduction, but to reduce it to its core components is this system is bad and brittle, and to prove it, we're going to stress it as hard as we can day after day after day, and then we'll see what you're made of, system.
I would say, I mean, that to me sounds more like what I am seeing than, a tactical a thing between Trump and protesters and everything else. Like, I think that there's certainly an element of that. Obviously, Trump is a very unpopular president with a certain demo. But beyond that, it's I think it's just fuck you. It's fuck you to the system. It's fuck you to the cities. It's fuck you to the police. And I think there's an element of helplessness to it.
Here in Travis County, there was actually an announcement where the cops said, answer your calls and that's it. Where apparently what everything we're seeing is that it will not be appreciated if we go looking for crimes in the moment to stop, whether those crimes are, drunk driving or domestic abuse or whatever. Like all of the patrolling up and down the streets that you normally think of with a cop, they in Austin, they've said, knock all that off. If they didn't call us, don't go. Just let the world do what it's going to do.
Yeah. And we'll see.
We'll see how that turns out.
Well, and I don't mean that facetiously. Like, I do think that there is an element of overstressing for cops. I mean, the cops that I've talked to since we started having the conversation about police reform, almost universally talked about a fucking job that puts them in a situation where they fucking feel like if they fart the wrong way, then their life and career and everybody that they love will all be fucking hounded forever. That to me does not sound like somebody that has a properly calibrated position, right? Even understanding that a police officer's job is intensely fucking pressure filled. But at the same point, there's what we're talking about, then there's what we're really talking about. And I can neither confirm nor deny that there's a season 2 of a podcast series that is currently being worked on. But in over 50 years ago, there was there were situations that are fucking nearly identical to the shit that we see today. And so it's like, it's easier for communities that don't deal with this all the time to just be like, wow, holy crap, this is nuts, right? But when your great grandma, your grandma, your mom, all your family and your cousins have known nothing but like, yeah, this shit happens all the time. And every once in a while, it happens in such an egregious manner that fucking shit pops off. And it's probably not healthy, but at a certain point, what else? What else do you have to lose? And what compunction do you have to not do it?
All right, we got 4 minutes. One happy thought from each of us. One thing we're excited about. I think we're getting a Weimaraner. That's mine.
When? What is the timetable on this?
I don't know. Looks like the litter is there, and the mom licked them all up, and they seem to be cared for. Maybe a month.
Wow.
Early, like early, or I think it's usually like 6 weeks. They keep them as baby pups with the mom before you get your hands on them. So I think we're gonna get a girl dog. Yeah, because
what are the kids excited? Do the kids know?
The kids don't really know. We're not. That's one of the. I mean, yeah, that's one we're gonna slow roll.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'll be fucking thrilled.
They
right?
will. They will when they find out. But hopes up, not so much.
Oh yeah. Just make sure that this is definitely, because as soon as you say we're getting a puppy, then it's like it's every fucking day. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then God forbid it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think the last time we talked about your puppy situation, you felt very in control of any kind of naming rights on the dog.
Less in control so much as excited, like when you have the idea and it's so obviously right that well, now the only job is to bully anyone who wants to fight me on this. But I could be talked out of it, and I do agree that no decisions will be made until we look into the creature's eyes. But I still am very into the idea of a popular 1920s style name, either Millicent or Gertrude, or so we get a Millie or Gertie or one of those kind of things.
Yeah, I guess you got to take a page out of Bonnie's playbook and you got to sell it to the locals. Like you got to have it can't be your idea. It's got to be the girl's idea, but you have to fucking sell that one. You have to seed the excitement. And I think that'd be an easy slam dunk.
Roxy is a great name for a dog.
Roxy would be great. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, my only major excitement is fucking Tijuana Jackson, man. I don't know why. Like last night, people were like at replying us with the credits and everything. By the way, did you know
that we're in the movie?
So we're in the movie, of course, available on July 31st. Buy it on Apple and Google for trending purposes.
Yep.
But also that, remember, we were initially supposed to be
the camera
people,
folks. Yeah.
And one of the camera people is now an Asian woman.
Right.
But the other's name is Justin.
Oh, that's great.
So I think that there's probably, they couldn't keep Brian on the now Asian woman.
Yeah, it could have named her Brianna. It's fine. Whatever.
Coulda.
Yeah, you coulda.
But yeah, I think that's the vestigial tale of the original script where me and you were the camera people, like Romney had first mentioned. But now we are parolee number 1 and parolee number 2, and I'm so fucking pumped. It is so exciting to to have this come out, and I just wish nothing but success for Romany, especially now where it's like, boy, wouldn't it be fucking awesome if the #1 most talked about movie was a black writer director who did it
independent,
all by
crowdfunded,
himself.
outside of Hollywood, and got a push from a dedicated community who has a long track record of making other #1 hits in soft markets. Like I'm telling you, if time travel back, like, here's what it would take to cause this to be the #1 movie in America, and then all of those things have happened, and now it's on us to hustle and make it happen. I already pre-ordered it on iTunes. I have to do it again on the Google Play Store, but
I'm just so fucking thrilled. I'm so excited to be a part of it, and I just want it to fucking blow up and explode.
Yeah, you and me both. All right, look, we love you guys. Thank you very much for joining us for a very happy hour. See you day after tomorrow. We have the show tomorrow.